Hi, my name is Howell Dwight Arpia, and I'm going to be talking about my final reflection for psychology class. Looking back through all the theories and concepts that I read about, the one thing that I feel like that stood out to me the most was how our peers or our social group affects how we act, essentially, how we grow up or how we evolve. Uh, the most interesting things that I learned, of course, was how there are stages within a social group. Uh, the, the social group has technically, according to the reading Looking Glass Self by Charles Horton Cooley, he describes a social group to have kind of three elements. A person's social group to have three elements. One is the imagination of our appearance to the other person. So, how we think that we're acting with the other person. The second is the imagination of his of judgment of that appearance. So we essentially I think he's saying that essentially people imaginate how people will react to how they act. And lastly, he says, and some sort of self feeling such as pride or mortification. So essentially, he's asking, in our minds or in our heads, when in our social group, we sometimes act at a certain way, but in our head, we have a whole process. So the way we act, and then we in our head we imagine how they think, like how they I would say feel about how we acted, and then either after that having that feeling we do either are happy, which is just the pride part, which are happy of the outcome, they're happy, so we're happy, or they're mortified, they in total disbelief on why they're acting like this, and like they dislike how they act like this. So that is one of like the concepts that stood out to me. A module that I learned about that was most relevant to my life was I think it was, yes, module 8, part 2. Uh, this stood out, this stood out to be most relevant to my life because while growing up, I am technically a Filipino American. I grew up in the Philippines, but I was only there for 7 years. Throughout the rest of my life, I've been living here in America. But this was very relevant to me because while growing up in the Philippines, we also talked about like the American Filipino American stages, like class stages, which was instead of having working on getting good grades, working hard, getting a good job and a high paying job, the most important to us was that it's essentially you work hard, you go to school, you get your degree and stuff. You don't get the highest degree, but you get a sim around a little bit lower than the highest degree. You get a job that you love, and most important thing is building a family, which was this was very relevant to me because this was my essentially my idea of having a successful life growing up, which was to finish my school, having a job that I love, something that financially can support me, financially support my family, and at the end having a family that I love and is taken care of. I found this to be really nice growing up. At first, it was a bit difficult because my parents would push me, and at times there I would be stressful. But I know it's because they want the best for me. So this was after um while reading the course module, this was like something like wow. I guess I wasn't the only one, and I was happy to know that I actually wasn't the only one. Uh, something that I learned. What? If anything, did you learn that challenged you? Something that challenged my idea was probably in course, I would say social class actually. In social class, in the social class, I thought that I guess it was in one of the assignments, one of the mini four assignments. I think it was when they talked about social classes, and in the main it challenged my idea of how bad wealth was, because at first, well, I thought wealth was in America was pretty much split a little bit, only a little bit higher than most of the population, but finding out that only like 1% or 2% of America wealth is is pretty much like passed on instead of actually gained was very surprising, and that challenged my thought at the beginning of the class, because I thought, okay, wealth, it was something that it's just like how much a uh person has built up, worked hard on, and has like how much money they have at that moment. But like, I guess finding out more information that wealth in America is only 1%, and that 1% is mostly because of generation passed on money, was very interesting to me. But other than that, I've had really exciting about this. I was finding really exciting, interesting stuff about this class. Thank you.